Next, we will have House File 3345 with Representative Jordan. Since you're not a member of the committee, I'll move that House File 3345 be before us, and it is our intention to lay this bill over. Okay, so if you would like to describe the bill for us, please begin.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This bill is a repealer. It repeals the law that preempts cities and counties and other political subdivisions from enacting bag ban ordinances. This bill does not enact a statewide policy regarding bags, but gives this tool to cities and counties looking to combat waste, littering, and harmful effects of plastics. You might recall our discussion around packaging last week. Might have been a while before, but I'll remind you that plastics is a top public health concern. Toxics in plastic cause disruptions to human endocrine systems. Microplastics have been found in human blood, amniotic fluid, and breast milk. We also have to deal with the effects of dealing with our waste once we've used them. We are seeing more prevalent asthma and upper respiratory illness as a result of burning garbage near trash incinerators. Furthermore, when plastic bags break down in landfills, that goes into our soil and water and then goes into the food we eat and the water that we drink. I will remind you of my favorite fact from this year, which is that the average American consumes a credit card worth of plastic every week. Plastic bags are a littering concern. I heard that from folks in this committee, and I've heard this in other committees as I've worked on waste issues. We see them pretty much everywhere. I've had one in a tree in my yard for about a week now. I think with the storm, it is now unfortunately disintegrated and is now probably in Minneapolis's sewage system somewhere. They also, when they go into our into the machines in our MRFs and in our landfills, they gum those up and cause major damage to those machines that are actually working to sort and deal with our waste as well. They cram up our lakes and our roadways, and that further damages our environment. Cities and counties are looking for more tools to deal with waste. This is one tool we can give them by simply getting out of their way. And I will also remind committees that it is cities and counties, and ultimately the people that live in those cities and counties, that bear the cost burden for dealing with waste. And with that, Madam Chair, I think we should go to testimony.
Great. We have several people who have signed up to testify today. We'll begin with Indira Falana.
She is not here yet.
She's not here yet. Okay, we can come back to her. How about Ivana Stark? When you're ready, if you'll state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Thank you. Chair Claiborne and members of the committee, I'm Ivana Stark, State Director of Clean Water Action, and I represent 132,000 Minnesota members who care passionately about protecting the water we drink, cook with, and play in. We support repealing the current plastic bag preemption in state statute. It prohibits cities and counties from being empowered to make their own decisions to best serve their communities. It pulls local control away from elected mayors, city council members, and commissioners. Repealing this preemption is not the same as a statewide ban. While this preemption is in place, a message is sent that Minnesota doesn't care about sustainability and moving away from its dependence on single-use plastics. It shuts down the conversations around solutions for plastic waste before they start. Repealing the statute is not the same, again, as imposing a statewide ban. Opponents of repealing this preemption and reinstating local control will tell you that it will lead to chaos and confusion. They'll claim that local control will confuse consumers who won't understand how to shop, and they'll paint a picture of an exaggerated chaos caused by a simple plastic bag. I have more faith in consumers than that. In fact, the California Grocers Association's VP of Government Relations and Chief Lobbyist said that, quote, people are really starting to accept that they bring reusable bags with them when they go to the grocery store. The Montana legislature passed HB 407 in 2021, which bans cities and towns from passing ordinances or citizens from passing ballot initiatives to regulate single-use plastics. A few weeks ago, Montana's first judicial district court ruled this law unconstitutional. The court referred to the state of Montana's argument as a, quote, patently absurd inversion of elementary principles of constitutional supremacy. Our cities and county commissions are asking for more tools in their toolboxes to combat the waste problem we're all struggling with. Repealing this preemption does just that. This is a common sense approach towards a more sustainable future while protecting local control. Thank you, Representative Jordan, for working on this, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate your being with us today. Next, we have Bruce Newstead. Welcome to the committee. When you're ready, if you'll state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Super. Thank you, Madam Chair, Representative Jordan, members of the committee. My name is Bruce Newstead. I'm with the Minnesota Retailers Association. We're a collection of about 1,200 storefronts across the state, including Main Street retailers, regional retailers, and national brands. I'm here today to share our opposition to House File 3345, removing the ban on the prohibition on the ban on merchant banks at the local level. However, that opposition does come with a big asterisk. Our policy position on this matter is fairly straightforward. We oppose the bag ban repeal. However, connected to that, we hope to support a future statewide solution that offers consistency for consumers, uniformity for retailers, and is developed in partnership with all stakeholders. So I'll just delve into those very briefly for you. First, a repeal should only be done when a statewide approach is adopted. We believe that the decisions of this magnitude impacting retailers, customers, suppliers, and many others should be done holistically and at the statewide level rather than through differing local ordinances. This ensures clarity, predictability, and avoids confusion for all parties involved. Next, a statewide solution is important for consumers as consistency is crucial for fairness and expectations. Consumers should not face varying regulations, practices, depending on their location at a store in Minnesota. A statewide approach really ensures that all consumers are treated equally and that they know what to expect regardless of where they shop. Third, uniformity for retailers across the state creates a system where cost disparities for retailers and consumers are avoided and, again, addresses the fairness issue. When retailers operate under consistent regulations statewide, they can plan more effectively, ensure they're good partners in compliance, and prevent unnecessary financial burdens that could ultimately be passed on to consumers. And last, any statewide approach to bags should be developed with all stakeholders, including advocates, retailers, and consumers. Collaboration among these groups is really essential to crafting a comprehensive and balanced solution that takes into account diverse perspectives and concerns. So, Madam Chair, thanks for the opportunity to share this with the committee today. Just to wrap up, if a local prohibition is repealed, it should only be done alongside a well-thought-out statewide plan that addresses the needs of all stakeholders. We are committed and ready to engage in that constructive conversation that creates a solution that works for everyone and meets our sustainability and environmental goals. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, and we appreciate your testimony today. Next, we will have Steve Stubert. Welcome to the committee, and when you're ready, if you'll state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Thank you. My name is Steve Stuber. I want to thank the committee for giving me the opportunity to testify and Representative Jordan for bringing this bill forward. You can find plastic bags in storm drains, along fences, stuck in trees, lakes, highways, and many other places. I think we all can agree that plastic bags are literally everywhere. I was the county solid waste administrator for over 20 years. I know that plastic bags are a big problem at materials recycling facilities, otherwise called MRF. This is where all your recycling goes to get sorted, gets caught up in all the machinery. The staff has to shut down the facility several times a day just to cut it out, cut these bags out, all the belts and screens. It's also a huge problem at landfills. And they get there and they're just blowing everywhere. They have to spend a lot of time cleaning these up around the perimeter and beyond the perimeter of the landfill. There are places to take your plastic bags for recycling, but quite often these bags are only used once and thrown away. There are options such as reusable bags that we can bring to the store to be used over and over again. It's just a matter of changing our behavior. Right now, cities and counties in Minnesota are prohibited from passing local bans on single-use plastic bags. We need to restore local control so they have an option to deal with the issues plastic bags are creating. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this bill today.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your being here so early in the morning. Next, we will have Jamie Poole. Good morning. Welcome to the committee. When you're ready, if you'll state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Chair Cleaver and members of the committee. Representative Jordan, I'm Jamie Poole, President of the Minnesota Grocers Association, and we appreciate the opportunity to voice our concerns this morning. Minnesota has a unique culture of hundreds of hometown grocers and convenience stores, many of who are independent, multi-generationally, and locally owned. They create jobs, support local charities, provide a safe and responsible shopping experience. We're their trade association. We have over 300 members with 1,300 locations statewide, as well as wholesale manufacturers and distributors. The MGA and its members are incredibly proud to be part of the communities we serve. As an industry, we take our role as an environmental steward seriously. Our members are innovators when it comes to packaging, recycling, and repurposing. The Minnesota food industry is a leader in voluntary recycling and is dedicated to aggressive waste reduction. For over a decade, we have voluntarily encouraged our shoppers to reduce, reuse, and recycle by offering plastic recycling at our locations. It's a convenient drop spot. Millions of pounds of plastic are recycled annually by your local grocers. These recycled products are not just bags used at our stores. They're also plastic products and bags used within the home. It's an excellent community service, as curbside is not an option for these products. The conversation today regarding removing the prohibition on merchant bags is concerning. Local bag restrictions have potential to interfere with the many outstanding voluntary efforts underway. They have shown a minuscule impact on litter and reducing waste and create a multitude of unintended consequences. City-by-city policy approaches create a direct market disadvantage to local businesses cities strive to promote. As an incredibly mobile society, consumers will make choices that fit their needs and pocketbooks. We want to be clear that our number one concern as an industry is the effect the patchwork of ordinances will have on our customers. Operating in an environment of varying local laws will cause customers confusion, has the potential to have inequitable effect on those that do not have the same mobility or access as others within our communities. The conversations this year around repurposing, recycling, and responsibility are wide-reaching. We have boat wrap, extended producer responsibility, electronics, bottle bills, organics waste, just to name a few. And we honestly don't understand why today's bill would look to create a city-by-city patchwork when other conversations are focused on statewide recommendations. The retail food industry prides itself on the ability to ensure our consumers have the convenience and choices that they need and deserve in their shopping experiences. Proposals like this have the potential to move us in the opposite direction, sometimes with regressive results. We've spoken with Representative Jordan, and appreciate her time and understanding. We look forward to looking at other states and finding some trends that would make sense. And we are happy to be a stakeholder and look forward to working together. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much for your testimony. We appreciate you. I will go back to Indira Falana. Okay. Okay, is there anyone else in the public who wishes to testify on this bill? Okay, seeing none, we'll go into member discussion. Okay, members, Representative Joy, and then
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Representative Jordan. The question I have on this is when we talk about banning bags and merchant bags and what that defines as a retailer myself, you know, if I order egg rolls in, the manufacturer sends little bags with it. If I order in certain food products to sell to my customers, or if they're buying muffins or donuts, they're putting them in bags to carry them to the counter. How are we going to define this? If we give this to local control, I'm really concerned on this because I think what's going to happen is local control thinks they're making the right step of banning plastic bags or banning, just putting the word bags out there. And what's that come down to? How are we going to, I think we still need to keep this on the state level, and I think we need to have discussions on how we're going to do this, because if we do give it to local control and all players aren't in the negotiations or talks at the table, I have fear that this is going to interrupt some of these things that we're selling in our retails and possibly cause, you know, understanding of how this whole law works. Can you explain to me how we're going to, if we brought this to local control, how we would be able to guarantee every person in this market is at the table to make sure that it doesn't affect items like that?
Representative Jordan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Joy. Yeah, that would be up to the, our city council members and our county commissioners. And I have faith in our county commissioners and our city council members who represent fewer people than we do to be able to talk to the businesses and constituents that they represent and craft ordinances that work for their community.
Representative Joy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so I was a mayor for 6 years. I was fortunate to be in retail. I had a vice mayor that was a law enforcement officer for 22 years. He would never understand if he was taking this to the table of what effects are in a retail situation, whether it's, the grocery store or my retail store or my pizza shop, what it took. And I think this needs a lot of work before we even think about moving it to local control. And I guess I hope we could work together on this and try to get this in a better setting. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Joy. Representative Harder.
Thank you, Chair Claiborne. Representative Jordan. I don't really have a question, but I just have a comment about the bill. And I think it's really commendable that we are tackling the littering problem that seems to be persistent amongst a variety of people that potentially don't care about the environment. I mean, we see that. But on the one hand, I see this bill as more local control, which is a good thing. Counties and cities can decide what is best for their city. But on the other hand, I potentially see this bill from a consumer point as being borderline anti-consumer and anti-business, because you're taking away their choice as to what the people that come to the business, what they want. If people wanted to use the reusable bags, and you do see many of them, then the consumer would end up, by the virtue of using reusable bags, that businesses would change over and say, because the customer wants the reusable bags, that's what we're going to. But if cities and counties enact different ordinances, I see confusion for the consumer. And if they're upset, they're not going to come to the city or the county with the ordinance. They're going to go to the business owner and potentially hurting that particular business. So I think that this bill does need some work. I mean, there probably are some good things with it, that we do need to recycle more. And at this moment, I just can't support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like any comments, Representative Jordan? We have one more.
Let's just keep going, Madam Chair.
Representative Nadeau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Representative Jordan. Nobody wants, you know, the trash that's blowing around, so I appreciate you bringing this. I wonder, however, though, I mean, this goes back a number of years when a city tried to ban plastic bags on its own. Legislature stepped in and said, whoa, back up, you know. It's important that we have an even approach to, you know, how we regulate some of our businesses and allow consumers to purchase goods. And I was hoping that, you know, while this, I mean, I think what you're trying to repeal here is I don't agree with it, and I don't agree with it from a standpoint that it's not going to solve, you know, trying to ban bags in a city. Some political subdivision decides to ban that bag. Another political subdivision isn't going to. You know, this isn't a local control issue. This is a plastic is not the problem issue. Waste management is the problem issue. So you can ban bags and pretend that that's gonna solve the problem when it's gonna remove options for consumers and businesses, or you know, it's kind of like we have there's state statutes. You know, there's state statutes right now that require people to pay money to recycle compost. They have to. There's no option. They have to do it. So there's a lot of people that don't want to. There's a lot of people that don't need to. There's a lot of people that don't produce this. And so, you know, the few people that may need plastic bags that go to the store, I think is a viable option. The language that you're repealing is literally, let me read it. All merchants, itinerant vendors, peddlers doing business in the state shall have the option to provide customers a paper, plastic, or reusable bag for the packaging of any item or good purchased, and it goes on just a little bit. That's, you know, I go to different stores that have different options. You know, some of them don't provide any bags. You have to bring your own. I choose to go to that store because I value that in some cases. So I think removing options for people pretending that we're going to solve our waste management problem by having a haphazard approach to which political subdivisions want to ban plastic, I think is not even hopeful. I don't think it's a step in the right direction. I don't think it's going to solve the problem. And, you know, our job here is to try to keep those knee-jerk reactions that happen at local government. I mean, we just look at what happened recently with Uber Lyft in Minneapolis. Look at the problem that's being caused. One local subdivision has decided that they should be able to determine how we can access rideshare across the metro. And somebody could argue that, you know, that the providers are making that choice, and I get it. But that's our job, is to balance those things. And I think repealing this statute removes choices. It's going to hurt consumers. It's obviously going to hurt business, and it's not going to solve the waste problem that we have with plastic. So thank you.
We'll go to Representative Hansen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Representative Jordan, I was trying to remember the statistic. How much plastic do we eat?
Representative Jordan.
Madam Chair and Representative Hansen, it's not only what we eat, it's also what we take in through our skin, what we drink in our water, and other ways. But the average American takes into their body a credit card's worth of plastic each week.
Thank you, Representative Jordan. Representative Hansen.
And Madam Chair and Representative Jordan, do we have a choice on that? Do we have options on how much we're going to take in? Do we have stakeholder meetings on how much plastic we can consume?
Representative Jordan.
Madam Chair, Representative Hansen, well, I don't voluntarily eat a credit card worth of plastic. That is plastic that is in the water that I drink because it ended up there through all of these just different things that we have plastic for. We take it in through our food where there are films that are on top of it. They come off through the plastic bags that we put our food in at the grocery store. It comes in through the air that we breathe. It comes in through soils that end up in our food. So there's lots of different ways that it gets into all of our bodies, and we are unaware of that.
Representative Hansen.
And thank you, Madam Chair. And, frankly, just to comment, we're down where Representative Hewitt represents, and when we drive along 52 or go through Dakota County, we now have very large hills of garbage. The landfills are now mountains, and they're going to get taller.
Thank you, Representative Hansen. Representative Nash.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. I think a couple folks here will remember that I was the author of the ban back in 2017, and I asked myself a lot of questions as I was moving that legislation along, and I won't ask her to come down, but Ms. Poole did share at the time that I think it's north of 93 or 95% of all grocery stores offer a methodology to recycle plastic bags. So that's an important metric for us to remember, that these do get recycled. So not every plastic bag goes blowing in the wind. It's not Bob Dylan songs for everybody. It is something that I think a lot of consumers value, their opportunity to have that choice. I think I was telling the chair on we have often calls the day before committee. My wife has this unnatural love affair with canvas bags. And every year we have like a decommissioning service at our house where I force her to get rid of some of the ones, and I go to trade shows and I bring new ones back. But not everybody has that ability to bring in those reusable bags. There are lots of stories of people who live in settings where they're pretty tight, and having a plastic bag be something that's available for them to bring their groceries home in is a valuable thing that we need to protect. I am concerned with the relative certainty of the patchwork that will get created, particularly for companies that have, in my circumstance, one of my constituents is McIntoons Grocery. I believe they are the oldest grocery store in operation in the state of Minnesota, and they've got grocery stores in multiple locations. So they got one in Waconia, they have a new one on Highway 7 out in the Minnetrista area, they have some down south, they have one, I believe, in Jordan. The problem that this could potentially create for them is that they're buying for the entire enterprise, and now this is going to create a difficulty for them to operate in as uniform a manner as they would like. Again, I think that the ban, or as staff has now called it, when I passed my bill, it was the ban, and now we are the ban. I feel like we're in a Flintstones cartoon with Bam Bam. But I think that what this creates is a difficult patchwork for retailers to live up underneath. And as Representative Nadeau pointed out, there are oftentimes decisions that are made that wind up being capricious and create difficulties for the entire state. And while I did hear that that sometimes decisions made local are always best, and I was describing this to somebody sometimes city councils and county boards are at the 5,000-foot level, but the legislature is at a 50,000-foot level. And I think that that's an important distinction that we need to make, is that we are trying to make sure that commerce operates evenly across the state of Minnesota. And I just think that this is not something that we want to overturn. I again know that these are infinitely recyclable. My wife does take the bags to be recycled when bags that kids use or bring into the house or whatever, if she forgets her cannabis bags. They do go to the recycling bin at Macintoons, and I think they take them, well, pretty much everywhere. And I just think that this is a difficult playing field that we are creating for our retailers, much like Representative Joy talked about, much like Representative Harder and Representative Nadeau talked about. This is not going to fix the problem. The problem is in people who are lazy and throw things out the window or don't do their job properly. So I think that that's a very important distinction that we need to make, and I believe, Madam Chair, we are laying this over.
We are laying this over.
Okay, so I don't get to vote no, but if and when, I will vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. And so as you know, Representative Jordan, I used to live in Brazil, and Sao Paulo banned bags. Sao Paulo is a massive city, 20 million people plus, and the grocery stores still functioned, and we were able to bring our groceries home, and people knew that they needed to bring something, a cardboard box, a market basket, something to bring their groceries home. And I think every Thursday when I go out to my yard after recycling day and I have to pick up all the plastic bags, I think if we had to bring our own bags, people would be more careful about where they kept their bags. So I do appreciate the legislation, and I will turn it over to you for closing comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I'll just try to wrap up a few of the comments. There was a question about like why would local government be, in charge of making some of these waste decisions? Well, local government is in charge of paying for a waste problem. That is something that our counties pay for. And so if counties are looking for tools to deal with our massive waste problems as their incinerators run at their full capacity and our landfills are filling up, cities are looking at many tools. And cities have been at the legislature this year in a way that I haven't seen before, and I haven't been here for very long, but cities are really, and counties are here asking for tools to deal with our waste problem. This bill isn't one bill to solve all of our waste problems, but that's why there are many, many waste management bills. We've heard a number of them in the Environment Committee, and I know you've heard a number of them in this committee. I know because I've presented some of them. And so there are many tools that we're looking at, and this is just one of those tools to deal with one sector of our waste problem. So I also think, Madam Chair, that consumers are smart. They get it. The city of Boston and the city of Philadelphia both have plastic bag bans in place while the surrounding states don't. I think that Minnesota consumers are as smart, if not more smart, especially after living in Minneapolis when there was a Super Bowl with many Philadelphia and Boston fans in town. I think people in Minnesota are smart and can deal with this, especially if people in other major metropolitan areas have these bag bans when their surrounding states do not. Many other states also do have bag bans. Importantly, this is not actually a bag ban. Right. Even though this bill, the bill that is being repealed was offered in some ways as in an attempt to deal with one city, my city, Minneapolis, looking at this plastic bag ban, the city of Minneapolis would still need to go back and revise that ordinance based off of should this repeal or become law, the city of Minneapolis would need to revise that ordinance. So this would not automatically put in bag bans anywhere. So all of the communities in the state would have to go back and do that work with their communities to come up with solutions that work with them. And with that, I think it's an important bill. I think it's a good bill, and it's just another tool in our toolbox to deal with our mounting waste problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with that, members, we will lay over House File 3345.